So yesterday, the ANC Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, in his midterm report, was essentially dominated by the party's renewal journey, saying that the ANC takes renewal from a position of great vulnerability. Speak to us about just the discussions of day two, and do you get that sense of vulnerability from the party as it tracks its journey so far?
Well, thank you so much, Unaiti. Apart from issues of, renewal, he also dived deep into the issues plaguing the country, especially issues around local government. And why this is so important is that local government is the core face, of service delivery, where people, ordinary South Africans, get services and delivery. And this is where he paints a bleak picture, Unaiti. And this is where I want to bring in the issue of state capacity and governance issues. And of course, this is under the balance of forces discussion document, and it outlines that yes, the state may have made progress in building a development framework, but it also faces significant challenges, and some of these challenges pertain to corruption in the system and state capture. We saw the Zondo Commission unveiling, what actually happened, state capture, how certain SOEs were hollowed out, or money was hollowed out of those SOEs. And this is a discussion I want to have with our political analyst, Mr. Sandile Swana. Therefore, we'll take the discussion to ANC NGC member Donald Slamlele. Swana, thank you so much for joining us on SABC News. We look at the issue of, state capacity and governance issues. These are very important because these are issues that affect both you and I, Unaiti in studio, and people in Alexandra in Soweto, how state capture, how corruption has actually affected, the state institutions. When you look through the balance of forces in the document of the ANC, it says that what needs to be done. It says the ANC has introduced mechanisms like the Integrity Commission and step-aside rule for charged leaders, but enforcement has been uneven. Have you been seeing that?
Oh, thank you. The ANC is an old organization since 1912. If you read the ANC Constitution, you will discover that the most comprehensive clause, I believe it's clause 25 or something like this, where all the disciplinary circumstances are written, the scenarios. There is no scenario that they say they've made a resolution about, which was already not catered for in the original Constitution. So first of all, I want to say that these resolutions they've made, including the step-aside one, were actually superfluous. They were not needed at all. It was a mischievous step. And what needed to be done, and what still needs to be done, is that we need to find a situation where a comrade charges another comrade according to the Constitution. We want to see a person like Thabang Makwetla charging Gwede Mandashe for the Bosasa mischief. And comrades need to know, to get into the habit of charging each other, discipline, not setting up parallel structures. Follow up to that, the Integrity Commission, which they did set up, has several shortcomings. One of them is that, in my judgment, one of the missing ingredients in the Integrity Commission is integrity, which is very necessary. There are too many inconsistencies, favoritism, and carelessness that has been going on there. At the same time, the Integrity Commission is subordinate to the culprits, which is the NEC, which most of the time the culprits come from there. Others, when somebody is being charged or being questioned by the Integrity Commission, the members of the NEC have already committed the same offense. They are not yet discovered. So they don't want the Integrity Commission to get into the habit of penalizing that activity because they've already committed, they've just not been yet discovered. Or some of them are in the middle of it and they've not yet completed committing that offense. So the ANC of today is an ANC of parallel processes and parallel structures in the ANC and in government. And that then retards progress. It slows everything down and at times collapses everything.
Coming out of this NGC, do you see perhaps the Integrity Commission, which you said is basically a toothless body, let's just put it bluntly, being given more powers? Do you see the step-aside rule being given more powers as well?
It can never because everything is controlled by the NEC. And the NEC is populated by a very large number of culprits and suspects and convicts. Depending which records you use, if you go to Travelgate, the travel money that was stolen from Parliament, a number of NEC members were affected by that. They were implicated. Some had to pay back the money, and all sorts of things happened. So if you go to SIU reports, the Zondo Commission reports, all kinds of reports in South Africa, you will find a name that is in the NEC. So those people can never help the ANC to recover. Never.
And just looking at issues of, local government, I think one of the things that stood out for me, yes, I'm not quoting him verbatim, but ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa had said, listen, when it comes to issues of, procurement in local government, let us cut out the middleman, because through the middleman, that is where corruption is actually being breeded. There are certain things that municipalities can actually do in-house instead of outsourcing.
That is a very disingenuous suggestion by the president. It's misleading the public. If you want to know the answer, go to Kenneth Brown, the former Chief Procurement Officer of the Republic of South Africa, who wrote a full research report as to what must be done about procurement. They terminated him and never implemented till today. Those reports are still sitting at National Treasury. And I wrote a letter to Kotongwana on the findings of those reports and what I think must be done. And I still think that is what must be done, not this thing that Ramaphosa is saying.
Swana, thank you so much for this conversation. I want to bring in Donald Slamlela, if I'll just call him here. He's an ANC. Just for now. So we were just speaking with Mr. Sandile Swana about, issues around local government. President highlighting that the middleman needs to be cut out in municipalities. There are certain things that municipalities can actually do themselves instead of outsourcing, because outsourcing could actually breed to corruption. I think your thoughts on this and perhaps the inputs that are being made in these various commissions so far.
Just from a commission now, and they were giving a very practical example and a joke that for a municipality, Bloberg municipality or Molemole municipality in Limpopo, or Taung municipality in Northwest, or anywhere else in the country local, just to change a globe, you may need to outsource, or you may have to have a panel and so forth. You may stay in the dark precisely because if you have not followed the process, you run a risk of being told that you have committed maybe irregular procurement or so forth. So, President is right. We need to really look into how the state purchases or procures goods and services. It's a matter that we have to really deeply think about it on how to reorientate procurement of services and goods in municipalities and start to really separate which ones can be procured through the tendering process and which ones must be insourced. It can't be a business as usual because this has rendered our municipalities down.
Another issue is the issue of consequence management. How do you hold your local officials to account, if they don't perform? I know that the ANC has now started to introduce a local barometer measure, right? Where your local officials, if you're a chairperson deployed to a certain municipality to be mayor, if you don't perform, you get booted out. But this local government barometer is actually good on paper, right? This is where I myself as an ordinary citizen could actually rate you and your performance and say, but you're not performing, please be booted out. How is that working so far?
Look, as you correctly say, it's not working as desirable as we would have thought. And I think in the commission that I'm in, it is also emerging as a very, very strong point to say we need to really look into how do we do monitoring and evaluation of our deployees. But also, have you ever heard of a municipality where even the directors or so forth are actually being taken to a task, either for suspended or so forth, on the basis of non-performance? It's rare that you have ever heard that. Anytime you hear that the director or so forth is being suspended, I'm still speaking at the level of officials, it is because it's either corruption related or so forth. But the way we have not really elevated the issue of service delivery, we have not had in the recent past a situation where we say a director in this A municipality A or B has actually been suspended just because he has not met targets. Of course, within the prescripts of labor laws, we have never had that, or has been taken for redressing process, reorientation and so forth, or it's been downgraded. Going to the councillors and deployees in terms of political responsibilities, we also have a serious problem in relation to that. We have a serious problem because often at times, we don't track their performance to the latter.
But why? Because my issue is that is there political will to actually hold your deployees to account? There's simple things that you guys can do, turning the lights on, water, and etc. And the thing is, people are being failed at a local level. You have all these things that are good on paper, but the implementation, and some people have cited that yes, Joburg was clean because of G20. It means that the municipality could actually get things done. Why not just get things done?
Exactly the point that why we are here now. We are asking ourselves hard and deep questions.
But
Why
Donald,
have
does
we
it have to take you so many years to ask yourself a question where you know the solution, you could just implement it?
Look, that's why I'm saying, maybe if you were to give me a chance, you'll get what I'm trying to say. Look, we find ourselves here. The reality is that certain things are not happening the way we have decided them. Either because our structures, maybe you find that in a region, you have a mayor, but it's also a deputy chairperson of a region, the structure that must actually evaluate him. You have a situation where Comrade Donald is a member of the mayoral committee responsible for the supply of electricity, supply of water, responsible for that portfolio, maybe infrastructure. But on the other side, he sits on the other side in the political office. Therefore, those who are supposed to be that evaluation at that level are also one way or another accounting to him. So these are some of the things that as we relook into organization, remember, first we have acknowledged that we need to have consequence management. Now, secondly is that when we have put a process, like you said, we have put policy program on the paper, now, why is it not working? Then you arrive in this determination that we are finding now that in municipality A, how do you think Donald will evaluate himself when himself and Masemola are working in the same office, and now Donald must evaluate Masemola, and the other way Masemola must evaluate Donald? Now we need, these gaps are reality. You only realize them as you go on in implementation. You will never be able to get some of these things unless you are on the process of implementation.
Which leads me to the issue of renewal that you're also discussing.
Yes.
What is the price of renewal? Because renewal also means rooting out the bad apples within the organization.
The renewal, the price of renewal is very costly and is very painful. I can argue anywhere that part of why we went down in certain corners in terms of electoral outcome in 2024 is because of renewal process that we engaged in. Because when you start to attend to certain rogue elements within the organization, you then have to, the result that is what you see now. And you see a big fraction of people leaving the organization. But it's a painful process we must go through. We must never feel sorry that now, if we had not taken certain decision, we would not be at 40% in 2024. Because we'll be unfair to ourselves, we'll be dishonest. Yeah. But in reality, renewal is happening, is going to happen. It's a painful process that we'll have to pay.
Mr. Donald Slamlela, thank you so much for your time. ANC NEC member, of course, talking to a number of issues. The price of renewal, Unathi says it is costly, but it is necessary for the ANC. With that said, it's back to you in studio.
Thank you so much, Natasha Piri, monitoring developments there at the NGC.